day to working off-site, to setting up phone calls, to setting up video chats, and how we were still going to be able to connect not only with each other, but with the clients. And as a small business owner, that's been the biggest challenge, was getting us to a point where we could still consistently be working together, working for our clients, and still being effective at our jobs. So I'm sure that's what your clients are experiencing too.
Yeah, I mean, some of them already had work from home opportunities, so like flexibility if you want to work from home on a Friday or something like that, but not massively, like having groups of people that didn't even have the technology, didn't even have laptops, or have to use their own home laptops, which they're now sharing with their children because their children are on Google Classroom. So yeah, I mean, I think that where people have been familiar, it's been a little bit of an easier transition. But I'm curious, George, so how did you do that so quickly? I know you were all based in the office. How did you manage to quickly get everybody mobilized that way?
So on Friday the 13th, the bankruptcy court announced that all of our meetings were going to go to Zoom. And to be completely honest, until 7 a.m. that morning when I had my BNI meeting, I had no idea what the hell a Zoom was, just like everybody else. But if the federal court was going to use that, it seemed like that was going to be the platform we had to figure out too. We immediately set up an office meeting for that following Monday when everybody was still working on site. And I coordinated with my computer guy, and I coordinated with my phone system. And I said, I need to get everybody off site, and I need to have a plan in place sooner rather than later. And fortunately, the phone system, they were already working on, they had an app in place, but they were working on compatibility because that app worked with iPhone, but wasn't working with Droid. And my computer guy already had everything lined up. It was just a matter of installing it on home laptops, installing it on home computers, and making sure, more than anything else, that the office knew how to use the technology that was being thrust upon them. So we walked in on Monday for the meeting, and I said, guys, we're going to be closed by Friday. We will be off site by Friday no matter what. If you work hard, we'll be off site by Wednesday. I just need proof of concept that all of you know what the technology is about. And my team was super resilient. My support from the tech side was on top of it. They were in the office working with our people. And my first employee went home after Tuesday. My second employee was home after Wednesday. And on Thursday, we had proof of concept where everybody had to show and demonstrate that they could set up a Zoom meeting, and that our phones were now ringing through the phone system app, so that when somebody calls me, they're calling my extension at the office. It's just ringing through to the cell phone. Of course, we've had glitches since, but none of those glitches have taken any of us really offline. And we're just as effective and productive as we were when we were sitting in the same office together, which is a pretty amazing thing, a realization that this offsite concept, once we come out of this crisis, there's going to be fewer excuses to allowing people to telecommute in order to do their jobs more effectively, or from an environment they appreciate more than cubicles.
I totally agree. I think that this has sort of forced a lot of organizations to quickly adapt to the work from home environment, and we'll start to see the need to be able to accommodate people that way. And, you know, as a business owner, as a leader, you'll be able to attract employees and have greater retention when you can be able to give them that flexibility. I think you'll get more out of your employees that way, because they're not commuting and not, you know, dealing with the expense of gas, a whole slew of things. So able to juggle, you know, stuff that goes on outside of work a bit better.
It's one of those funny, strange things. The dream of telecommuting and working from home, I think, has been dashed in a lot of people's brains because they never appreciated their telecommute would involve also teaching first grade math and kids begging for snacks every 5 minutes. And one of my paralegals said after the first couple of days that she feels it's harder to work from home because the phone calls are at a different pace and the disruption is different from that home environment, that all of a sudden you look up and realize it's 7 o'clock at night and you're still fielding phone calls and responding to emails. So that's a bit of a balance challenge. And if you've got any tips, this is a great time to share them.
Yeah, well, if you have family home in a normal environment, it is challenging. I mean, you need to have some sort of accommodations to take care of the child when you're working from home. But if they're normally in school or in daycare, what I found is really helpful is you have to have some sort of schedule, because otherwise the boundaries of working at home and managing your household sort of blend. So what I've learned to do is set office hours, and everyone knows my office hours. So I do have a dedicated space, as you can see here, but I may be a little bit more flexible. Like when we're done here, believe it or not, my phone's not working. I have to go down to CPR and get something adjusted. And then I'll come back and I'll finish some things up and then have dinner with my family. So it's really having the boundaries around the work hours and the family time. And especially now, George, like we all need time for ourselves. So we had this conversation, I think it was last week or the week before. You're a gym person, I'm a gym person. The hardest thing for me was not getting out first thing in the morning, because that's my way of setting my energy and my tone for the day. So now I've had to do that at home, but I've set the same schedule where I'm working out at 7 in the morning so that I'm creating some sort of routine for myself still. And that's important, creating the routine when you're working from home.
The setting the routine, I think, is super important. And we start our workday with a 9:30 huddle so that everybody gets on the same page and we look at the problems that are coming up and how we can group think and solve them. But I will confess, we're both Max Fitness members, and I'm super appreciative as to how quickly Max went from we're live to we're doing a group YouTube to now it's an on-demand issue as well, with live classes and replays of those classes for those that skip it. I have found still that the hardest part gaining back of my routine is I'm no longer a 5 a.m. gym person because the workday doesn't have to start that earlier, and Tiger King is on Netflix and I'm binging on stupid shows at night for hours that I don't need to. That I feel I've lost that routine for the gym. But you and I talked about it, and I fully acknowledge it is lacking. If you'd like to talk to a little bit about that fitness and what it's doing to keep you mentally sane, you're a better speaker on it than I am at the moment.
Yeah, well, let me just put it under the general category of self-care, okay? Because you can get, especially with everybody home, right? Everybody's home. No one's going out. So you have to carve out time for yourself. There are things that I do now that are really important. The morning workout, 7 a.m. If it's not done at 7 a.m., I don't do it, quite honestly. It's just,
yeah.
So it's a non-negotiable. And then what I do is I'll get ready for work as if I'm leaving the house. And that's what I do. I'm not a pajama with the pink fuzzy slippers work from home person. I get up, do my workout, have my breakfast, get in the shower, get dressed, do my hair, put my makeup on as if I'm going somewhere, because I am on Zoom all day long too. And there's something about the endorphins that, sort of get infused in your body that really helps energize you for the day. And the other thing I started doing is before bed, I have a ritual where I'm meditating, and it's my way of shutting down for the day, because I feel as if there's just so much activity in this house all day long that I don't necessarily have the downtime. Before this, my kids were working at iPlay. They were gone like every
Right.
night. They were gone from 4 to 9 and weekends. My husband travels. He's on an airplane all the time. No one's going anywhere. So there's just too much activity for me to go from dinner time to go to sleep. And I haven't even turned the TV on. Isn't that amazing? I'm not watching Tiger King.
Well,
I don't even watch TV anymore.
I'd love to tell you you're missing out, but it's a guilty pleasure. You'll watch it for the train wreck value of it. But
Yeah.
after that, you'll kind of wonder what you just experienced over those 7 hours. So good for you to be in the gym, and less of me for getting obsessed with the strangest tiger show you've ever seen.
But the one thing I did want to point out is that we do have, I mean, other than work, we do have a lot of time on our hands, because we're not going to the movies, we're not going out to dinner, we're not going through any kind of extra entertainment, and it's a really good opportunity for each of us to develop ourselves, because I'm a firm believer in professional and personal development. So when we get out of this, and we will get out of this soon, how are we going to look back on what we did with this time? Did we use it productively? Did we focus on, like, I've seen some people on Facebook talk about some courses that they're taking and further enhancing their trade or their skill. So it's a really great time for people to reflect on, what do I want the next version of me to be? And what do I need to do to get there versus, I'm sorry, binge watch Netflix. It's okay to do some of that, but there's balance. And then when I take that and put it into an organizational standpoint, there are things that business owners and leaders can do to develop their teams and to really become much stronger out of this, and reflect back on the resilience, the adaptability, and all of those skills that are so needed on a regular basis when you're dealing with colleagues and you're dealing with clients.
I think that's really, really fair. And it's a good assessment that a great quote of my father's has been, every day can be an adventure or an ordeal, and you get to choose. And we've all been put into this very difficult, complicated, scary situation. And you can either push through it and adapt to it, or you can wallow in it and feel sorry for yourself and those around you. When you can take that challenge on and do something productive with it, we're all learning something about ourselves and about our core, our team. And trying to take the good part of that is what I'm trying to appreciate every day.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the way I've embraced it too. I've embraced it for myself. That way is what am I learning about myself? Like I said, when we first got started, I have really good days, and then I have some days that aren't so good. And when that happens, it's important that we also have self-compassion for ourselves. Like, don't beat yourself up if you had an off day, because it's certainly understandable and acceptable. And then you kind of move from it. What did I learn from it? What do I want to do? Or how do I want to show up the next time?
I think that's pretty solid advice. And we came into an obstacle because obviously for those that are homeschooling their kids for the first time, and the case where it's multiple children, you have to teach 2 children 2 different subjects at the same time with the same rigid, demanding schedule. We encountered that where my kids are 4 and soon to be 7. So a first grade curriculum versus a pre-K curriculum, and the attention span of a 4-year-old being 20 seconds long at most, we ran into this big issue of how to adapt and adjust. And what we created was virtual babysitting. So my father and mother check in on a Zoom call with my 4-year-old every morning so that we can get about 30 minutes of uninterrupted time to get Grayson's schedule moving forward. And when we put this together, the first thing I did was I ran out to Walmart and I picked up duplicates of the same games. So we have Battleship, PJ Masks matching game, Shoots and Ladders, and Candyland at my parents' house and also at our house, so that they can play the same game on different boards, but the board's in front of each of them, so you're both participating. And it gave my father an opportunity to, and mother and father, the opportunity to see the kids, and it gave my kids that connection and a distraction that wasn't Netflix or YouTube or the Kindle, so that they could still be interacting with each other. And so far, that's my favorite like hot tip that I throw out there is you can still be connected to your family outside the scope of this, and they can help you with the education burden where you're basically trapped trying to teach multiple kids at the same time.
That's a great tip. That's really great. See, I have teenagers, so mine are 17 and they're somewhat independent, and I've sort of let them run their own schedule. And as long as the work gets done, like today they're on spring break. Today spring break started, so they're just making sure that they get all their work in for the end of the marking period today.
How are they doing with the socialization with their friends? What's their way of reconnecting or staying connected?
You know, the usual phone stuff that they do at night anyway. They have not seen their friends at all through all this. So in the very beginning, one of my kids had a little bit of a meltdown because he started to realize, like, I miss school. Huh? I miss school and I miss work. And I really think it was more of the social element of, both of those regular places that they've been going to. So, but you see, I also have twins, so they're kind of built-in playmates.
Right.
And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I also have a baseball player here. He
Right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was released by the Phillies during spring training, and he came here for tryouts for the independent leagues. And they're not trying out right now. So he's been out in the yard. The boys have been with him. They've been, catching and hitting and doing all that stuff to keep him in physical shape. So they've got, I'll say a playmate, but they've got some entertainment.
So I didn't know if we'd get over to that issue, but Barbara had an amazing background when it comes to hosting minor league players, and it's pretty fascinating. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit of what you've done and specifically how many players you had last year at your house.
Well, we started in the season of 2017, and I didn't even know that families could do this, but we had a player that my kids and my husband met call us when he got called up to Lakewood in the middle of the season and said, "Can I live with you?" And I turned to them and said, "Well, what does that mean? Can I live with you?" So then my family explained to me what that meant. So we had one player for half a season. And then in the season of 2018, my kids said to me, "Can we have some players again? Please, please, please." I'm like, "Sure, we can have somebody." "No, how about two?" And I said, "Well, okay, two is good because then at least they have each other." And so that was great. I mean, we had up to 4 at one time because there's a lot of transition during the season when players are moving up or promoting up. So there was, I think, up to 4. That season, I was transportation to and from the stadium, which was really difficult. I'll be honest with you. It was a bit challenging to try and manage my schedule and get them to the stadium, get them home, and then when they would come off of a road trip at 3 a.m. and my husband was out of town, I'd be sitting in the parking lot at First Energy Park in Lakewood waiting for them to get off the bus.
Oh, wow.
So there were, but overall, and then last year, this is where it got kind of interesting, because I think that's what you want me to talk about really more is last year. We started out with, I said four was the max. Now I do have the room. I have 4 bedrooms. I have a basement. And we started out with 4, but then there was one that was a friend of another, and can he come? And so we kind of figured out how to make the 5 work between the 3 bedrooms upstairs. Not mine, obviously. I'm on the other side of the house. And so that was okay. But then there was a shortage of host families. And there were 3 of them that just didn't, they knew my kids and said, do you have room for us? And I said, we really don't have room. They came over for dinner. My kids took them down to the basement and they said, yeah, we could stay here. The basement is so I felt terrible saying no. So I said yes. So we had 8 last year. Now,
Wow.
what was different was they had the 3 that came together in the basement had their own transportation. They had their own car, and those 3 boys are from Venezuela. And then the other 5 that were upstairs are from the Dominican Republic. And we had a vehicle for them so that I did not have the responsibility of doing that driving. So it was an interesting season. My husband got called away for 3 months to do a special tour. And so I did not know I'd be alone with everyone. So you know what, we can make a whole Zoom Facebook Live just on the adventures of, season 2019.
I think the key takeaway from that is that if you're looking for a place to crash, just ask Barbara, or more importantly, ask her kids.
My kids, yeah, they're, they seem to run things here sometimes, but I felt like it was great for the kids. They take Spanish in school, so they're able to speak the language with the boys, and I still stay in touch with the ones that stayed here. So it's one of them got married, had a child. They call me mi abuela, so I'm the grandma. And then I was just WhatsApping another boy from last year to make sure he's okay, because they're all now, obviously, they're not playing baseball, so they all were sent home and riding out to see what's going to happen with the season.
Yeah, and we're all hoping that we get to see baseball again this summer. Veitengruber Law is a little bummed because we had such a cool kickoff event going at the end of the month. We had partnered up with Fulfill to do a food drive through all of our networking partners. And the people at the Blue Claws have been amazing. We've been told if there is a season, we're coming back with that event. It's been postponed from April 30th to someday in June. And if June doesn't happen, hopefully sometime this season, there will be a season to look forward to. We all miss that routine and distraction and entertainment that comes with having baseball around.
Yeah, and I think that's just to kind of dovetail into this other subject, which is like what people seem to have really missed out on, is that connection. And I myself, I'm an extrovert, and I thrive with, it's one of my core values is connection. And I think that's why this whole thing hit me so hard when I stopped and took a deep breath to see what was going on. And having a business now that's virtual, you have your people like all over the place now. It's really important that connection and that interaction continue, because as I hear people talk about, I miss walking down the hall, or I miss having that conversation in the break room, or I miss going out to grab a cup of coffee. So while we're still trying to get stuff done, in our businesses, it's important I go back to the human element and realizing that people are missing people. There's a lot of people missing people, and that connection. And something I heard earlier today, which might be a good tip for you or other people, business owners that have their employees spread out, is we kind of go from one extreme to the other with meetings. We have the very tactical meetings, like, okay, what are the things that need to get done? And then there's the happy hour. Let's have a social and a happy hour. What I heard on one of these webinars today was there's something in between, which is, having the like the workplace meeting, just to kind of talk about what's going on, not necessarily the tasks that need to be done and the deliverables that need to get done, or sitting in front of the computer with a glass of wine or a Corona, no pun intended, but having, okay, so what's going on, and having people where they normally have those hallway conversations or those interactions in a break room or a water cooler, because that people are still sort of looking for.
Yeah, I think it's a crave thing, that it's back to the interaction. And we've been a part of a couple of happy hours, which, just devolves into a glorious night of drinking alone with others on a computer screen.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things that one of my friends set up is that we've been doing a hangout on Saturday nights, and right now it's been 4 couples. I think it might have been 5 couples this weekend, where we were playing a game from the 90s called You Don't Know Jack that has an app. The other one that a lot of people are playing now is Evil Apples, which is Cards Against Humanity, where you're using your cell phone as your remote, and one person is pointing their phone, they're sharing their screen. So you're all seeing the same screen, but you're answering from your own houses. And with an open phone line, again, you're drinking together alone, but you're doing a game night. So you're almost distracted from the fact that you're not in the same place. You're still having a function of socialization that's as close as we're going to get to being together while we're trying to flatten the curve.
Yeah. We did something similar to Saturday night. My sister and brother-in-law and nephew, my mother who's in Florida, who we finally convinced that that's the best place she should be, is stay down there. We were doing some sort of game and interacting on Zoom. So yeah, it was nice, because I haven't seen my family since the end of February.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really hard too. My parents are in Howell, and they're hunkered down, and it's more, again, it's the point of trying to protect them and ourselves as the young, healthy people. Our hope is that we're okay. And the last thing I wanted to do was risk hurting my 70-year-old parents by just selfishly wanting to see them. Yeah.
Soon enough. I'm pretty optimistic. Soon enough. I think once this month passes, I mean, I'm not a crystal ball reader, but I have a hunch that we'll start to emerge from this sometime in May, just kind of slowly, and then June a little bit more. I think we'll have the summer that we want to have.
I'm really hoping you're right.
And I hope there's baseball.
Me too. Absolutely. Well, Barbara, I think this was really great. I think if you'd like to share how people can reach out to you or connect, now is as good a time as any, and we'll put it in the comments too.
Yeah. So you can just reach out to me. My business name is Barbara C. Alexander. You can find me on my business page, or you can friend request me on my personal page. I have something coming up if you're interested. I'm doing a webinar series with 2 other leadership development coaches it's an adaptive leadership series, and it'll be the next 3 Wednesdays starting Wednesday the 15th. I will be leading the discussion on leading remote teams effectively as a leader. And then we've got some other topics on trust, accountability, resilience. So if anyone's interested in learning more about that, reach out to me. You can private message me or go to my business page. So yeah, I mean, that's it. It's an interesting time in my business, because I think people need the support, and they, like you even started this with that quote. It's like you need to be able to express yourself and to be able to acknowledge exactly what you're going through, and not necessarily sort of push it out of the way, and just embrace it and move through it. And at the end, if you focus on the things that you need to focus on to get through it stronger, you will emerge from it stronger. Your business will emerge stronger, you as a leader, and you know, how you show up, and what will people remember about you when you know this is the end. And I'll ask you that question, George. What would you like as a leader, as a business owner, what would you like to be remembered as having gone through this? They say
Hopefully
George
they don't
was-
remember.
George
Hopefully they don't
was-
remember me for this embarrassing version of a 20-day beard and mustache, because clearly I'm a failure when it comes to growing facial hair. But what I've really tried to pay attention to in the last month is fake book is something that we've all experienced by showing all the happy moments, the great moments, the oh, this amazing trip moments. But it's okay to be afraid right now. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to let your people know that you're going through something difficult, because they're going through something difficult too. We're allowed to embrace the fear, acknowledge the fear, and then we have to get to work, roll our sleeves up, and push through it. And I want people to understand that we're here as a resource to help you push through that. I'm really good at finance. I'm really good at budgeting. Bankruptcy is a tool. It's not a death sentence. And when we explain to people that there are options right now available to keep you surviving and thriving through this scary time, we're all going to come out of this on the other side. We just have to make smart choices now in order to get to that point.
Absolutely, absolutely, and with a clear head, right? And that's something that you can help people navigate through, because it's a very emotional time, and it's hard for people to make clear decisions when there's emotion involved.
Absolutely.
So we could do this again sometime, George. I'd love to do this, like maybe when this is over, and when we're out and about, when maybe at the baseball stadium, we could do like a spontaneous live or something. But I enjoyed it too, and I think you're adding a lot of value to the community by bringing guests on like this. It's important. It's important for people here.
I can't wait to live stream from the Champions Club with you over a couple of drinks in person.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Barbara. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Today.
Okay. Well, we will, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Okay. We stopped live streaming.
Look at that.
I think.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
wait.
You're still recording, but you stopped live streaming.
Hang on.